I always compare myself with others and get depressed. How to come out of this? Pratham, what a wonderful name. My son's name is also Pratham. And thank you for that question, Pratham. You're saying I always compare myself with others and get depressed. How to come out of this? Okay. So the first thing first I want to tell you is comparison comes from the space of our reptilian brain, which is like the oldest brain structure in the human brain. And this structure comes from 7.5 millions of years back. And where this comparison comes from, it's very simple. Like, you know, we were born on this planet, we were at the lowest of the life chain, right? And every other animal who was on the planet was more powerful than us and ferocious. So we inherently have started, you know, in back then we started comparing our strengths, especially the physical strengths, to survive. So comparison is embedded in our reptilian brain so that we can take care of ourselves by looking at other people's strengths or other things' strengths which are there in the outside world. Now this was good 7.5 millions of years back because we needed that understanding of strength, physical strength, so that we can survive. But as we grew and as we evolved as a human race, what happened is we didn't have to, no more we have to fight with those animals, and we are pretty sorted. Like, we are in the sheltered place and those animals are either in the reserves or in the zoo. But what continued with us is your reptilian brain does not understand the difference between physical threat and an emotional threat. It produces the same response in your body, releasing the adrenaline and cortisol as a fight and flight response, right? Now comparison actually comes from that space. Now, having said that, the root of your comparison in this life, like maybe the reptilian brain has that seed already, and because whatever happens in your life, the experiences that you go through, you get triggered. Okay, and now typically the experiences that you may have gone through in your life as a child is you know, your parent or elders in the family or whoever you looked up to, even the teachers. Probably they started comparing you with other people, like say your cousins, your siblings, your neighbor's child, or you know, maybe a student who is sitting next to you in the classroom. Now, we all in the school system, the education system ideally is supposed to be helping us to find our strengths and pulling us up, uplift us, right? But the education system is designed in such a way that it points out to you what are your mistakes and how wrong you are and what are your weaknesses. No education system actually ideally helps us to identify what are our strengths. And the moment it is pointing out your weaknesses, natural tendency of people around you is to point out to you what are your weaknesses. Now, I'm not saying this is for everybody, but I would say that 90% people or 95% people, those who suffer depression, anxiety, fear, self-doubts, etc., have gone through the critical parenting or critical conversations around them and pointing out more and more weaknesses rather than strength. Now, it could be your direct experience or it could be your subjective experience. Like in my case, objective experience. Like in my case, I was the youngest of my four siblings, and my father was very critical, and not because he didn't love us, because that's the only way he knew parenting, and he thought if he will do this to us, we will get better at what we do. And a lot of parents in that space were doing it. Now, when I was growing up and I saw my sisters were going through this, and every time my father was disapproving their something, or maybe he was critical about some things, or you know, there was this conversation. As a child, I started observing this way before. Even when my father would not directly say this to me, I started, you know, comparing myself automatically. Because I started preparing myself that this is what is going to come when I grow up. So at a very young age, I remember I automatically started comparing myself with other people around me. And you know, in comparison, what happens? You know it very well. You will never focus on your strengths. You always focus on how you are not good at something. Whatever is your weakness, you'll focus on the other people in that area and you'll say, oh, they're so good at it and I am such a stupid person. Right? That's what happens when you compare yourself. You never look at your strengths. So naturally when you're not looking at your strengths and you're constantly having a self-talk within you, that now you know what, not just the other people are saying it, but you yourself also start saying that you're such an idiot, you're so dumb, you can't even do this, look at this person doing so well, look at that person doing so well. Naturally, when your self-talk becomes condescending towards yourself, your self-talk becomes putting you down, you're going to feel depressed. Because where will your body, where will your brain look at now? Not just the other people, but you yourself are putting yourself down. So obviously you're going to feel that depression. Now these are the two ways. The first is the seed is hardwired in all of us, okay? Hardwired in all of us to keep us in survival. But what happened in your upbringing or whatever happened while you're growing up is now triggered that seed of survival state. And when you're in a survival state, you're going to feel depressed. Because either you're running away from something or you're fighting with something. Either ways, there's a game of adrenaline cortisol going on in your body, and the moment your adrenaline and cortisol is high, you're feeling great. The moment it starts crashing down, you start feeling depressed. So the game continues like that. So what you need to do in this case is you need to really look within yourself and start finding what are some of the strengths that you have. So one thing that I want you to do in your life is, I want you to find out what are you good at and write those things down. Okay, the first question that you're going to ask yourself is, what am I good at? And start writing that down. The second question that you want to ask yourself is, what are my achievements? And you want to write that down. Achievements could be big or small, it doesn't matter. Write that down. And the third thing I want you to do is, what are you grateful for? And I want you to answer these questions every single day, not once or twice. Because see, your comparison thoughts or your negative thoughts are coming to you all the time, right? They are not just coming once in a while. That's why you're asking me this question. In that case, you need to ask these three questions to yourself every single day. If you need to ask them in the morning to set up your day, you do that. If you need to ask them in the night before you go to sleep, you do that. But this is a every single day activity, and when you do this, you will see in the next 30 days, your automatically, the way you start thinking will start changing. You will stop, I wouldn't say you will completely start comparison, because honestly, I'll tell you something, it took me 36 years to get out of this pattern. That was because I was not even aware of I was going. It was such a deep-seated pattern in my space. It took me 36 years of my life. So at the age of 36, I could actually identify and let it go. Because comparison also comes from the lack of self-love. And I earlier answered about the self-love thing, so you know what it is, right? So you can combine these two activities if you want to overcome the comparison sector. And if you still have people in your life, those who are comparing you right now also, then see your environment is still very hostile. It's not good for you. So start finding better environment. And I understand that maybe your family may be doing this to you and you cannot leave your family. I'm not saying that you leave your family. So you start seeking other environments, those who are more supportive and more uplifting. So you probably can join a mastermind. You probably can join some places where people have like-mindedness and they are probably looking at growing together. Like how you came for this in live right now, right? You came and you're getting these insights. Now you start thinking about it. If the more you do these things, the more you attend these things, and the more you dive deeper within yourself, because there's no shortcut to this. The only way is to work hard on yourself, and the more work you do on yourself, the easier your life becomes. That's the only thing I would like to tell you.